In today's video, we'll take a look at parachains.info, which is the website where I take my information from when it comes to sources of projects currently building on Dotsama, planning to launch a crowd loan, be it on Kusama or on Polkadot. And so in today's video, we'll take a look at which are the new ones coming up. I'm not going to look into each one in detail, but there is one specific one which I just announced, a crowd loan launch. It's going to be tomorrow to be exact. And I want to take a look at that and explain to you why I'm personally more bullish than normal on this specific crowd loan. But of course, it does come with some downsides, which I'll talk about in today's video. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time to go into the details, but I will be giving you a quick overview and we'll talk about what they have got to offer. But first, on parachains.info, if we toggle between the different statuses here, we can see which projects have been announced, which ones are currently in testing, which ones are currently in the auction, and which ones are already a parachain. And so to me personally, I think toggling the testing one kind of gives us the early feel of what we can expect from the ones building on Dotsama at the moment and testing, because obviously if it gets to the auction stage, it'll kind of be like, okay, well, it's not that early anymore. Okay, we already know what they're doing. We already know that they've got a plan in place, and we already know that we may be missing out on the early bird bonus. And this is why it's important to pay attention to the testing stage, because it's just one step before the auction, before the crowd loan. And so you want to make sure you're in it early, to be notified early, and so to not miss on any potential gem out there with an early bird bonus, because sometimes these early bird bonuses are just too good to miss out. And I've personally been guilty of missing out some. For example, the BitCountry Pioneer one, had I known about that early bird bonus early on, I would have contributed earlier, and so because of that, I've missed like 10% extra tokens, which is quite a lot. Yeah, let's take a look at some of these. Like I said, I'm not going to go into all the details. We'll talk about one specific one, which is Snow, which I've just announced their crowd loan. As you can see, we can see that here. Now they're a bridge and also a smart contracts platform, and you'll see why, because they do have a link to a very popular project from back in 2017, when it used to be known as the Ethereum of Korea. As you know, NEO was known as the Ethereum of China, and Icon was known as the Ethereum of Korea. So we'll take a look at what Snow have to offer and how they're linked to Icon. There's also Shadows Network here, which we haven't taken a look at, but it's just to show you that you can do some research on these standard protocol as well. Ternova, TrustBase, UniArts Network, which is an NFT project, Value as well, Zero, Z-Clock Network, which is a privacy and data project. So they might be competing with Manta Network or Calamari in this case, because it is on Kusama. So we don't know. Again, I haven't done research on any of these. I have looked into Snow, which is what I want to talk about in today's video, but this was just to showcase how you can toggle between these different projects, these different statuses, and kind of get in early, or maybe find out early about these. And of course, you can check which ones have the Web3 Foundation grants as well. Now remember, the Web3 Foundation grants are now given to projects that don't actually have a token model. It's more for the techie ones that are trying to help the Dotsama ecosystem by simplifying the functionalities in some way, be it for developers or being it for you, for the user. And so the Web3 Foundation are not so focused on trying to support those projects who are going to be raising money anyway. And it makes sense if you think about it this way, but they used to at the beginning, right? At least in the first 8 or 9 phases. And so let's take a look at Snow. So Snow is a long-term incentivized network for cutting-edge development backed by the ICZ token. It's referring to the one from Icon, as I mentioned before, which has a real-world value. Snow will serve as a canary network for ICE. Supply and other economic behaviors on Snow will be the same as ICE, but token distribution will be different in order to support the goals and attributes of the network. Snow comes packed with a set of top-tier features such as the full EVM and EWASM compatibility, and we'll take a look at what that means. And there's also one other special feature which we'll take a look at, which I think is very important with regards to Snow, and it is going to help them in my opinion. Now, BDP, cross-chain interoperability optimization, and the backing of a vibrant L1 community. On Snow, you can innovate without having to make guesses on tokenomics and game theory, among other things. Snow will use a parachain crowdloan to obtain its initial parachain slot on Kusama. Now, before we look at the tokenomics, I just want to kind of show you what this is about, right? So what is ICE? Okay, ICE is again the main network on Polkadot, but they haven't launched yet because they obviously want to win on Kusama first to test things out on the Canary network. And so ICE is going to come up on Polkadot, but you do need to understand what is ICE to know what is Snow, right? Because it is ultimately the main network of Snow. So ICE is an extension network and application hub of the Icon ecosystem, which I told you is a project that's been running since like 2017. It went through a bull market and a bear market already, and it is what it used to be known as the Ethereum of Korea. It's gonna be built with Substrate. Okay, ICE is the first network to use the Substrate SDK to extend the feature set of an existing layer 1 blockchain protocol, which is Icon. In addition, ICE will provide the much needed addition of EVM compatibility to the Icon ecosystem, and that also brings Icon over to Polkadot, which is awesome, right? This is what we want to see, interoperability, and they obviously like Gavin's vision. Now finally, ICE is the only EVM compatible parachain that is also optimized for Icon's BTP. Okay, it's not the only EVM compatible parachain because we already know there are plenty of them, but this one is optimized for Icon's BTP, and that's where we're going to see the link between Icon and Dotsama. This will position ICE as a potential flagship chain within the Polkadot ecosystem that showcases industry-leading cross-chain applications all powered by Icon's BTP. And one thing that I'm bullish on here with Icon is that Icon are pretty mature by now, right? There are a lot of dApps that are built on Icon, right? Being the Ethereum of Korea. So what I'm thinking is that a lot of these dApps, or maybe at least some of them at the very least, will likely consider migrating over to ICE. And so if we see that kind of migration, that means it'll help the Dotsama ecosystem grow, as there'll be those layer 2 solutions on top of Snow's parachain or ICE's parachain on Polkadot. Okay, now look at the let's look at the key features here. So EVM and EWASM compatible. It's EVM compatible, enabling developers to iterate and innovate much faster using existing tooling and code from the Ethereum ecosystem. ICE is also compatible with WebAssembly, a widely supported high-performance standard that will likely serve as the foundation of decentralized system development. So again, they're integrating with the Polkadot ecosystem here, which we already know. But one thing that I wanted to cover here is this one. Ink smart contracts. Okay, so besides Solidity, ICE supports writing smart contracts in Ink, an embedded domain-specific language for writing smart contracts in Rust. And if you don't already know, Rust is the programming language used on the Substrate framework. The Substrate framework is the one on Polkadot and Kusama. So all these parachains that you see on Polkadot and Kusama have all been built using the Rust programming language on the Substrate framework. So now we'll be able to build smart contracts in Rust, which is awesome. Okay, right now a lot of these are working through EVM, so that's why the EVM compatible parachains are doing so well, such as Moonriver, Moonbeam, for example, or maybe Aster and Shiden. And that's why you're seeing so many dApps on there, because they're using the EVM compatibility for the smart contracts. However, now we will be able to do that with ICE. Okay, with Rust, sorry. So that means it's going to be more native to Polkadot in a way, if you want to think about it this way, right? Not necessarily native to Polkadot, because at the end of the day, Rust is just a general programming language, but because it's compatible with Substrate, is the only one that's working with Substrate, then it will make sense to see that. And hopefully it'll make things more robust, more less hackable maybe, who knows, right? We'll have to see how things progress. But again, ICE are not the only ones that are going to be developing or let's say creating smart contracts or creating an SDK that will be supporting smart contracts in Ink. Okay, there are other projects working on that, and we've heard about those at Polkadot Decoded. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that they're not the only ones, but it does help to see that they're looking forward to using this feature. Okay, so these smart contracts are compiled into WebAssembly WASM code, which is executed by the contracts palette of the ICE blockchain. Okay, so now let's take a look at the roadmap quickly here. So you can see this is the roadmap. So like I said, they're going to launch the crowdloan tomorrow. I am going to contribute a small amount of KSM to them, and so if you want to support this channel, you can use my referral link for a 5% extra bonus. Thank you in advance if you decide to do that. I'm not going to post it today because I don't actually have it, so I'm likely going to do another video tomorrow where I'll do the Dotsama news, and I'll also cover the launch of the Snow crowdloan. And so here you could see they launched the Frost testnet. January, March, this was in the first quarter, enabling EVM and WASM. In April, June, second quarter, testing the Arctic parachain, Kusama crowdloan strategy, rollout for Snow, implementation of tokenomics for Snow and ICE. Snow crowdloan launch on Kusama, then in quarter 3, July and September, launch of Snow, airdrop claim for Snow, ICE, Snow, and Icon Bridge integration. ICE Polkadot crowdloan planning is going to be in the last quarter, so October to December. Then enabling and support of devs building on Snow. And one thing that I don't like as part of the tokenomics here is if we go to token here, you can see the distribution 2.6 billion. Okay, it is quite a lot, and I know it does depend on the market cap at the end of the day, right? So that's not important. But what I don't like is this crowdloan rewards 5%. Unfortunately, it is low for me personally, but just because of what they're doing, because of their link to Icon, because of the history of Icon being in this game through one bear market already, surviving it and still building, still crushing, looking at integrating with other ecosystems, to me that's good enough to actually contribute something to this specific crowdloan. Now, one of the other downsides I see here is the Icon airdrop. We already know what happened with Shiden. A lot of people that locked their ETH for the Plasm lock drop back before the Aster was known, so they didn't even think about the Aster name back then, and then they rebranded from Plasm to Aster. And so if you remember that, like, even during the bull market, Shiden didn't do so well, right? There was a massive dump as people were just selling that airdrop. And so I do have some fear here that there could be a possibility of the Icon holders selling Snow, okay, or the ICZ token. So yeah, there is that risk, okay? Just something you got to keep in mind here, and this is why I wanted to mention this. Is very important. But regardless of this, I'm still going to contribute a small amount just to have some skin in the game for Snow, because I like what they're doing, and I'm likely going to be buying some when they list on exchanges as well, depending on the price, because we are still in a bear market. But the reason why I want to have some skin in the game is because we don't know exactly when they're going to enable token transfers. Remember, token transfers can be enabled even after 6 months, 7 months, as we've seen from other parachains that have won last year. And so to me, there's still that risk that maybe we're going to be waiting quite some time before token transfers are enabled. And if that is the case, it could be that the market might somewhat recover. And if it does, then you may not be able to get ICZ cheap off the exchanges, right? So it may be worth just crowdloaning. So that is the reason why I want to crowdloan some KSM for these guys, just in case, right? Just as a backup. But of course, I'm going to pay attention when they're going to list on exchanges. And so that's what I wanted to talk about here. Again, if you want to follow them, you can do so on Twitter. Just simply go to parachains.info, the details about Snow, and just click here on Twitter to follow them and stay up to date. But like I said, the reason I'm bullish on them is because of their link to Icon, the Ethereum of Korea. They've been building for quite some time, quite a number of years now. So they're definitely a stable ecosystem, a layer 1 solution. So it's going to be great to see that integration into Dotsama. And now what I don't like about them is their tokenomics. Okay, there's also something that we cannot like. We can't like everything, right? So to me, the tokenomics are just not good enough. But at the end of the day, because of what they're building, because they're so tech focused, and I'm hoping that some dApps will come from Icon over to Dotsama, and so I'm looking to support these guys. And of course, I'm going to be paying attention to their progress. That's been it from today's video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Snow? Will you be contributing? And if so, will you be contributing a lot, or maybe just some KSM, like some fractions? Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.